Hello, Lois.
Hi, Pam. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm all right.
I'm just here managing a number of things. I actually have a meeting to enter to join at 2 p.m.
Okay.
Yes, and a number of us anyway who have affiliation with Makere, we may have to be in that meeting. There's a meeting for postgrads at 2. It's online.
So
Yes.
I think what we can do is go through the October, people sharing their October progress, and then I'll try to be as brief as possible. I just have a few tips on how you can write coherently. And
That's okay. Please have
yeah.
the 30 minutes. I think it's crucial.
And then people can share what their November targets are going to be, and then we let the individual writing time be at the discretion of the individuals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree with that.
Okay.
Because
good.
like for us in my group, we usually target early morning before many things have come. So we do Mondays and Thursdays, like from 8 to 1. Because we wanted to make up for lost time. Now that semesters are on, you find that you don't have any other time. So for this October, we had decided to do 2 days in a week and do a block of hours.
Okay.
Because
That's
we get
very
disruptions.
good. So how big is your group?
We are still 2 people.
Okay.
Because it is the dynamics of meeting is still a bit difficult for us to find people who would fit in our schedules, because we have to teach, then we have family, and then we live on the same road. So it's easy to leave home. I go and meet her. Either we meet in Beverja, sometimes we meet at Quality in Lubowa, in quiet cafes, and we just sit and write. But then also there is the you know, uplifting one another, looking into one another. What have you done?
Yeah.
Are you on the right track? Things like
Yeah.
the threads. In fact, we've been dealing with those in this October.
Yeah.
Is there that thread in your work?
Mm-hmm.
So we've been, and we recognize that the writing group, you need to kind of have a bond where you're willing to receive comments from your colleague, even when they are hard comments saying, why are you not working on this? Why
Yeah.
are you pushing it till a later time?
Yeah. Oh,
So that also,
you promised to do this. This was your target. What happened?
so the
Good.
opening up. So we were not sure that we were ready to begin the whole process or again with a new person. But maybe at a later time we could add more people. But to see how this works, we also were not sure how it would work. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think that November should become a better time because I will have 2 children. Some of us have aged. Our firstborn is finishing S4 and the other one is finishing P7. So by second week of November, I should have a number of things off my hands and I can devote more time to writing. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to put a message on the group. I've just put a message to say that we have started for people to know.
Yes. People need to keep trying. Yeah, these days I'm
But
really
maybe
sensitive.
at exactly 10 past we can start. I can you can share, whoever is here will share their October progress, and then I can give the tips on how to write.
Okay. I don't know who is on this other NEMRA host.
I think Vincent is helping us.
Oh,
Hello,
okay.
Vincent. Are you there?
Hello.
Hello, Vincent. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Pamela.
I
How are
got
you
lost
doing?
on you. I have many dates, but I'll be found.
Good, you are still committed.
Yes, I am. I have to be. NEMRA is my family.
How are you, Dr. Royce? Long time.
Lois?
Sorry, I missed you. I think the network was there's a disruption. Yeah. Vincent, how are you? Sorry, I missed you.
I'm all right. I don't know. People are not joining.
I don't know.
You have a WhatsApp group for Sowrite?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've just put a message to remind people.
Okay.
Let me check on that message.
So I think let me pause the recording until people join.
Okay.
Yes.
We can
during the faculty board presentations. So I managed to finalize those comments. And yesterday I submitted my revised version to my supervisors. Now I'm waiting for feedback from them so that I can either have the proposal approved or else have any other comments to work on. Thank you very much for always motivating us.
Thank you, Rachel. Josephine, congratulations on that goal that has been achieved. We pray for quick feedback from your supervisors on your proposal. Well done. The floor is open. We are sharing our October progress because we made October targets. Those who have just joined, you're very welcome. Mr. Enos, And another Rachel.
Shall I go next?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm sort of in the same boat as Josephine last month. This month that is ending today, my intention was to revise a paper which had been rejected, but it was rejected by a journal after going through a review. So I had comprehensive comments from the reviewers, and I just needed to work through them and submit to another journal. And I did that, but I did it very quickly in that first week of October. So by the 7th of October, I had already submitted to the new journal. And I can imagine what Josephine is going through, waiting. So I've been checking again on the portal to see the progress. And this journal looks like it's quite slow because until this moment, it's still saying awaiting admin processing, which means that, yes, it's now about 20 days, about 21 days, and there's still 3 weeks still under admin processing, which should be a quick step. I don't know. So I am a bit anxious, but I hope everything goes well and I pass that stage and get into review. Yeah, that's me. But meanwhile, as I've been waiting, I've also been writing a grant which we submitted yesterday. So I feel very happy for the achievements for October, even though I don't know the results, but at least the effort was there. And writing a grant can be very tricky because you have to mobilize people to work with, people to write with, and put things together, the admin things that happen around the requirements or the procedures are usually not that very easy. But at least yesterday was the deadline and we submitted on the deadline. So I have a paper submitted in October and a grant proposal. So I'm really pleased with this month. Yeah.
Oh, great. Congratulations. Thank you so much, Dr. Lois, for sharing your progress for October. To share a piece, you're welcome. We are sharing our October progress. Please feel free to raise your hand, unmute, and share your progress so that we can move on. Because at 12:30, we shall start our writing acquisition moment with Dr. Lois. Is there any person ready to share? Yes, please.
Hello, this is Rachel.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the meeting. It's my first time. I've intended to come in. I'm glad I could make it today, and thank you for organizing. So for October, I'm working on a grant proposal. I need to put in a concept. The deadline is November 22nd. So that's what I'm working on. I started it late last month. Oh, it's already, no, this month, October. That's when I started it. I'm writing the concept. I'm trying to put all the details required, and I hope I'll be able to meet the deadline. That's my focus for this period, for the remaining days. And still within November, I am starting an article. I have already started an article that is coming from my PhD work. So I would like to get out another paper. So that's my focus. And I want to keep building it within this November.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome.
That's really brilliant. For Rachel and Josephine and any other person who are joining us for the first time, very welcome in Sowrite. We meet together, this group, the larger group, once a month to share our progress and set new targets, and also have a moment to learn something new about writing so that we can get better. And this all groups meeting is really usually very flexible. We started with Fridays, early morning, and then Saturdays, and today is a Thursday because we live in a changing world, changing circumstances. So you're very welcome. Before we learned one thing, when I listened to Rachel speaking about the grant writing, that as we set our targets, we have to be really specific so that we can be able to pinpoint what it is we are actually going to do. And then we work on that one bit and then move forward. That's one thing I've learned from this group, rather than being very generalized. So thank you so much for those who have shared, and welcome to those who are joining. I saw Donna's hand up. Donna, please unmute and share.
Yes, Pavela, good afternoon. And
good afternoon again.
Hello, everyone from your respective locations. I'd given myself a target of both September and October, finish up my synopsis. As I mentioned earlier, I'm still a very, very, very junior writer that is learning. I'm a typical marketer and salesperson, transiting into research and academia. So I'm happy. I reached out for help, discussion, and I really thank Elizabeth. She's a team member here. She really, really supported. And I'm glad I finished up my synopsis, beat the deadlines for the applications, still about 2-3 that are closing today. And I'm intending to apply. And then also those that are closing next month, I intend to throw in. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. That is impressive. To be moving back into academics takes a lot of courage. So one of the things Sowrite does is it offers this peer support in this journey. So thank you and welcome once more. I don't have any other hands raised. I would like to share what my target was for October and my progress. I had to respond to my main supervisor's comments, and I have been doing part of that. Some chapters I have done on my draft thesis. Some chapters are not completed. I looked at mainly chapter 1. What happened, my main supervisor died in May, so I was given another one who has changed things quite a bit, which was a setback for me because I had to go rethink and fit in within the new concept that and the new way that this supervisor would like us to take this work. And so I've had to reorganize my whole thesis. And then I also have some additional work that I need to do to collect data. And so I have also started on that. I am working in plant breeding and biotechnology. So I have plants where I make crosses. In the month of October, I also had some stubborn plants flowering and we made crosses. And I am very happy because those crosses finally were successful. So we have ripening fruits and we have more flowers that are to be crossed. Yeah, that's my progress so far. I continue to rewrite my chapters in the thesis as I also wait upon these crosses because I have to do further work with them. So that is where I am at. The other thing that I did outside of my personal project there is a group I belong to, and we also have a review paper that we are writing. So far, we have a draft. The first draft, we have managed to come out with it in October. So we are all looking through it, see how it has come about. So I'm also glad that that is out. Thank you very much. We still have 3 minutes. Peace, would you like to share? I'm now beginning to look for more volunteers.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Are you hearing me, dear?
Yes, yes. Hello, Peace. Good afternoon. We can hear you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm keeping quiet because mine is kind of a disappointment, which I don't want to share. But soon I'll give my progress. Thank you. Dr. Lois knows my hiccup, and it has pushed me behind, so I didn't want to share it on the group. It's a discouraging moment.
It happens, Peace. Like I told you, my main supervisor died in May. He had moved a great deal, so I knew that I was not going to do much more work. And that's why I had a draft thesis.
But soon
I get assigned a new. Yes, so also in this peer support, we share things that may be challenging. I have seen Nemora support various colleagues that had very, very hard challenges, and they completed their projects and moved on. So when you feel able, but the good thing you've already shared with somebody, the challenges are opportunities to become better. Thank you, Peace.
You are welcome, dear.
Do we have one more person that can use 1 minute? We have 1 minute before Dr. Lois begins to share what she has for us in the writing skills acquisition moment. Anyone else who is new, who would like to know more, please type in the chat, and we will be very glad to share with you what this group is about, the Sowrite group, the social writing group. It's 12:30. I have no other volunteers, but be thinking about your November targets, because we'll share those. I invite Dr. Lois that share with us. She is the brain behind this. She and another colleague, I'm sorry that I am not remembering his name, thought about this social writing group and shared with us on the NEMRA platform. And we've been moving for the past several months. If I remember, did we start in May? Maybe Dr. Lois will remind us, but I invite you, Dr. Lois, to start sharing with us. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Pamela. We started in June. I think this is our 4th meeting. And so we are still sort of evolving, and I'd like to welcome those who are coming in, who are coming for the first time to this meeting. You're welcome. And thank you to all of you who are working so hard to help each other. The main objective was to find a group or a peer or peers who can help us to handle distractions on writing, because we realized that we can write. By the time you get admitted on a PhD project, or by the time you acquire a project, rather a PhD, it means that you have the potential to write. But our biggest problem is usually various distractions. And The call was out for anybody who thinks that maybe working with another person would help them to minimize distractions. Let's come together, let's form groups, and let's always meet on a regular basis, a monthly basis, to share our progress, just like we've been sharing what happened in October. And then when we meet to share our progress and our targets for the coming month, we also use this opportunity to acquire a writing skill. And so today I'm going to be it's just quickly sharing from my own experience and also hearing what other people say when they are trying to write coherently. Because I've had this in vivas, for example, or when people are examining dissertations or theses, or even people who review papers, they want to see a particular coherent thread. And when you write somebody who is reading, they're asking the so what question, or what were you up to? So I think when we're writing, we can consider to do our write-up as a story. You know, what's the story? So what's the key message? What would you like to communicate? On the first meeting of Sowrite, we talked about how we can pause for our writing and have an incubation moment. So when before you write, or before you even start a chapter, if you could just relax and have this incubation moment of asking your head and your mind, what exactly is the message that I really want to communicate to the readers? What do I want to communicate? And probably even how do I want to communicate? If you do this incubation very well, it's a skill someone's been talking to us about, that that's what she uses, and that when she spends 2 hours of incubation, writing down what the story is, what exactly do I really want to put forward? What do I want to communicate? And if you're starting a paper, or you've got somewhere in the middle of the paper and you're not sure of how to move it forward, or you like Pamela's group that already has a draft of a literature review paper, you can step back and pause and ask, what's the story? What's the key message? What do I really want to communicate? And then equally important is, what's the purpose of the communication? We are also trying to develop a review paper on HRM in Africa. And we were asking ourselves this question, what's the purpose? Because there's been a lot of critique on HRM in Africa, how the knowledge has been developed using Western designed frames, how they do not involve the participants in Africa to hear the perspective of the people on the ground and all that. And we were asking ourselves, so for us, what's the purpose? And we thought, okay, probably because there is information out there of how this issue is a problem, can we ensure that our paper is about the solution? What should the authors do? What should the reviewers do? What should the editors do? So that would be our contribution. That's our purpose. And you need to be very clear about that, because if you have the message and if you have the purpose, then these two are going to help you with the structure. How the structure that will enable you to communicate effectively or drive the message home. And these three things are the keys for coherency in writing, because when you know what you want to communicate, why you want to communicate it, and how you want to communicate it, everything else begins to fit in there. I'll just give an example. I was thinking, what kind of example can we give? At the moment, I feel very sorry for KCCA leadership, the ones that are going through litigation issues concerning the Chitezi West place and the loss of life, the people that really died and their families. It's an issue that is affecting Kampala, one of the issues that is key for the city. And as researchers, if we want to make our research meaningful, we want to be thinking about projects that actually bring about community impact. That's how we feel satisfied. So if you, for example, you want to think about community norms and urban waste management, is there a correlation between waste disposal and informal and written rules that govern what is considered appropriate behavior in a community? So I used to work in a lab where we got visitors from Rwanda, and while the local people could just throw things anyhow, the Rwandese, within them, even though there was no written rule somewhere, they would just put their waste somewhere in their handbag until they find a proper disposal place. So you may want to understand, could there be some correlation between waste disposal and informal written rules that govern what is considered appropriate behavior in a community? And that's your key message. But then you could have various purposes for this. For example, you may want to influence literature. You may want to change, you may be a worker in KCCA and you want to change your outreach activities for your department. You may want to just satisfy yourself. You may want to write a policy brief about this and inform government. What could be your purpose? So if for example, you're working in KCCA in the department that involves in community engagement, your purpose might be to create community awareness for efficient waste management. So that might be like your key purpose. And as you write your proposal, as you write your dissertation, you have to write driving your key message and the purpose within that key message. And if this is your purpose is to determine this correlation, but also you're doing a PhD and you're stationed in a community engagement department at KCCA, and your purpose is to because you feel that if community is involved, if you feel that if people have various behavior, various norms, then waste management in Kampala can be changed, can be impacted. Then this is going to be your purpose that should run through the structure. The structure of your writing should be determined by your key message and the purpose that for the purpose for which your research is conducted. So now the structure will enable that effective communication that helps to drive the message home. It means that you need to help your readers or your examiners or your assessors see where you're coming from. Where is the background? You might begin to talk about waste management approaches in various cities in the country and maybe in the region and worldwide, and the history of it. Try to bring the reader into your work. But then again, at this point, if you're going to really be coherent, because your topic is community norms, it has these concepts in them, community norms and urban waste management. They're like your key things in your research. So it means that within this background, even as you talk about waste management in various cities, then you need to talk about community norms that affect city issues. This means that somewhere you have to narrow it down for coherency, narrow down your talk away from the bigger issues of waste management around cities, and bring it down, put it in a funnel and bring it down to community norms that affect cities. Bring out the background of that. This is why when we are writing a background, it needs to be substantiated with literature, with figures, and to show the reader where you're coming from. You need to prove to them that it is important, actually, community norms and how people behave, people's informal behaviors can affect how we manage waste within a city. And then when you've given this background, you've helped attracted the attention of the reader, then you need to problematize the issue, or It doesn't have to mean that you bring it out as a problem, but you just have to sort of bring out the value or the urgency or the need or the importance of looking at behavior, informal behavior and waste management within a capital city. So bring it out so that you can bring about the rationale of your purpose, the rationale of your communication, but also try to help the reader to conceptualization is about some things that we call constructs in your variables. So for example, community norms, you can at this point, in order to be coherent, help the reader to know what exactly do you mean by community norms. Is it going to be the culture? Is it going to be the behavior? Is it going to be the things that people do on a daily basis? Is it what they do only on a weekend? Is it try to show the reader that as far as your study is concerned, this is what community norms mean. And as far as your study is concerned, this is what urban waste management means. That's what we call by conceptualization, so that the reader gets into your story, gets into your thread. Because if you don't help them at this point, they might be having other ideas about what community norms are, what waste management is, but you really want to be coherent. You want to tell us a specific thread, a specific story. And this is the point of conceptualization, where you get appropriate constructs and define them to say what you mean by community norms and waste management. Urban, what do you mean by urban? What do you mean by waste? And what do you mean by management? What do you mean by norms? All these things should come out clearly on around conceptualization. And then also to continue holding the hand of your reader or your examiner and guiding them properly through your thread. Set specific intents. What do you really want to achieve? What are you going to do, so that you put there like 2 or 3 or 4, maybe maximum 5 specific things that you want to do, that you want to say in order to get your story finished, so that people know that this study is not A, B, C, D, E, but it is G, H, and D and F. You're very, very clear. You've set the boundaries, specific intents. Coherency is about defining your intents in very specific terms. What do you really, really want to do? What do you want to achieve? Like us, we want to write this paper about critiquing HRM in African knowledge development. We want to critique these processes, and our intent is not to tell the reader about indigenous HRM management knowledge. It's not we are not going to be telling them about the methods to do this in a better way, because these are already there in literature. Our intent is to craft practical solutions for the authors, for the reviewers of this information, the people who review papers around HRM in Africa, and also the editors. We've made that clear. We want to make prepositions. We want to make recommendations for authors, for reviewers, because most people write and they never target reviewers, to give advice to reviewers, and also editors of journals. So we have clear intents, specific intents, and you can pose these if you're writing a thesis or a paper for publication. You can pose these in 2 questions if they are exploratory in nature, or you can pose them into hypotheses where you have informed guess of the issues, and you're going to test whether the hypothesis is true or false. And then now that you have said the background of the issue, you've said how important it is through problematization, you've said you've told the author what the concepts are, you've told them specifically what you want to achieve, you've set all these boundaries. Then next, you're going to find out what other authors say. And this is about literature review. If you've done bullet number 1, 2, and 3 properly, you're going to have a very focused literature review, because you've already said, I want to show how community norms affect urban waste management, and you've defined what you mean by community norms. You will go to those, because this is why when you're writing your literature review, it cannot be divorced from your chapter 1, from the first chapter, from the introductory chapter. It has to be what the authors say about what you have been talking about as the background, as the problem, as your concepts, and your intents. What do the other authors say about that? This is what we call coherency, a relationship between your review of existing literature with the work that you really want to do. And when you have already done the research, even the literature can be even more focused, and you can be saying, while literature says A, B, C, D, my study is saying E, F, G. So it means that you cannot have your first bulletins blue in color, and then you have your fourth bulletin in yellow in color. The blue color has to go through to what the other authors say. And maybe sometimes to assist on this, it's when you have 3 objectives, then you probably need to do literature on each of those objectives. You find the issues, the concepts that you have used in that particular objective, and find literature that relates to those concepts. Or if you have research questions, you can always ask yourself, to what extent do other researchers answer my research question? So you're trying to see what other people are saying around your research question or your research objective. And in other words, that link is clearly there, and the assessors of your work can see that you've gone a mile, you've done all that you can, you have been rigorous to find out what is already said, and you're not repeating yourself, you're not defining it, you're not just describing it, but you have critiqued it, you have weighed it, you have analyzed it, and you found the gap that is missing, which your study is going to fill. And then after that, you've defined your issue, you've seen what other people are saying about it. This information, bullet number 1, 2, 3, and 4, this thorough thread is the one that determines your approach, your methodology, how you're going to go about your research. Or if you've already done that, when you're writing your methodology, you need to justify it by showing that given my background, given the problem, given the concepts I'm working with, given what I wanted to achieve, given what other people have said, this is the approach, this is the methodological approach that I chose. It's the appropriate one to take me through my intents to achieve my purpose. You have to link that. You cannot have a methodological choice that is divorced from your literature review, that is divorced from your conceptualization, divorced from your problematization, and divorced from your intents or your questions or hypotheses. If you choose a particular method to collect data, your assessors or your readers want to see why this is the best method that will help you to collect appropriate data to answer your research questions. This should be very clear. For example, if you're going to study how toddlers behave when they wake up in the morning, you cannot now begin. What the appropriate thing for you to do might be participant observation. You may have to live with this toddler to see how they behave when they wake up in the morning. You cannot say, I'm going to use interviewing to answer my research question. How do toddlers behave when they wake up in the morning? You can't do interviewing. It will not be coherent. It will not be logical for you to go and interview toddlers to understand how they behave when they wake up in the morning. So if you're going to study the economic trends after COVID, and you want to, for example, measure inflation or unemployment levels, you probably are not going to go and do observation. You may, part of that question might have observation, but you most likely are going to do surveys, or you're going to do quantitative and analytical techniques to see how inflation has moved from one level to another. So it means that your approach has to be linked with your research question for you to be able to be coherent. So whatever decision you make on data collection and analysis has to be justified by chapter 1 and chapter 2 of your literature review. And when you have done this, you'll be writing your findings and discussing these. Again, your discussion and your evaluation of your findings has to have it has to be underpinned by evidence from your analysis, from the data that you collected, which means you cannot divorce this chapter from your methodology chapter. If you did the interviews, then we are expecting to see, for example, quotation from your interview transcripts in your discussion. So there has to be that relationship between your approach, what you did, how you collected the data, how you analyzed it, and the findings. So you cannot make sense of your findings without linking that to the prior process where you collected the information and analyzed it. And of course, this is very obvious. You cannot have your conclusions and recommendations falling from heaven. They have to be coherent. You have had questions from the beginning. These questions affected your literature search, and the summary of your findings on the literature search and the gap affected the methodological approach. The methodological approach affected the kind of data you collected, the analysis that you did, and that affected your findings, and this informs your conclusions and recommendations. So I think in a nutshell, if you finished your dissertation or your thesis, you need to see where is the link between every other step. Actually, this is also something that you can do with the writing. When you're writing your literature review, you at the start of the writing, you say, in this literature review, we want to find out what the other authors said about A, B, C, D. And then as you write, try to see whether this chapter is also coherent. See whether you have actually talked about A, B, C, D, like you did in the introduction of the chapter. So even though this can work for the entire piece of your story, it also works for the individual parts of your story. Each part has to be linked with the other part. So if you finished your writing, go back and ask, what's the story? Where are the links? How can I justify my methodology? Is it the one that really links with my questions and objectives? How about my discussion, the discussion of my findings? Does it come from what I actually did, or am I introducing things that the reader is going to be saying, where has that come from? Why do we need to know that? Or is it something that shows they can go back to your background, come back to your findings, the discussion of the findings, and they can see the relationship between your background, between your questions, between your approach, between your review, and your conclusions and your recommendations. So I think when you're going to start, you can incubate and ask your questions around this and try to put them down. Of course, they evolve as the process goes by. You can realign and be flexible and change things. But before you submit, you need to ask, what's the story? Why is it important? How have I communicated it? And maybe before I go now, before we go into maybe we can have the questions first, and then I will share why Sowrite is important, how it helps, and also some tips on how you can run your group. So I'll stop here now, and we can have some questions on writing coherently. Over to you, Pamela.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lois. Members, you can really send in your reactions, thanking her and clapping. we are so grateful for this opportunity, the few moments you have taken to share with us this wealth of support in our writing endeavors. So members, please, let's ask those questions, make those comments, inquiries, etc. I also welcome those who have just joined us, Doreen, Kagoya, and let me see, I'm trying to see who else has just joined. Anyone else, you could be sharing with a group of your team, your peer support, you're all very welcome. Any questions? If you're not able to unmute, you could also type in the chat. Or even in the WhatsApp group, you can still see those. Thank you. So we're asking questions about coherency, which was the focus of today's writing acquisition moments.
Pam, I see a hand from Afua.
Afua, please unmute and ask your question. I think I've not seen that. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I want to thank you so much for organizing this this meeting or this meetup. And I want in a special way to thank Dr. Natkunda Rice and Pamela for this, especially Dr. Rice for organizing this. I joined in late, but I just I've really captured a lot. And maybe just a question on generally, because this is about community norms and urban waste management. I just want to know if I've missed anything from the background, before the background or before this slide, which I'm seeing here on my screen, because I'm really, I'm really a first timer writing my first thesis, and I've been somehow, so I can say demotivated, not as such, but in September, sorry, I had a target of writing, submitting my manuscript to my supervisor, maybe for comments and review. But unfortunately, after writing it, he told me then I have to again do that analysis for some other results, and this is kind of really hectic and hard, and somehow I'm demotivated. So I just want to know how best can I go over this, because I've written a manuscript combining two different topics. There may be pollutants, and I was looking at several compounds, but now it wants me to analyze over 38 compounds and then separate the manuscript into two. So I'm going to redo the whole thing again. So I just want some guidance and maybe encouragement. Could be a form of motivation on how best I can go about this, because it's like I'm going to start like from scratch. You know, like you have a dissertation ready, submitted, and you're trying to get most of the concepts from the dissertation, but now I'm going to redo analysis, different methods, different everything, and put it into paper, not necessarily a dissertation. So I'm wondering on how best to go about that.
Pamela, this sounds like you after you have felt like I am done, and then your supervisor takes you. It's like snakes and ladders.
Yes.
Go up, come down. But I think maybe at some point in one of our skills acquisition moments, we'll have a time on how to handle negative feedback from, you will get as soon as you step into academia, you'll get all these from reviewers for your grants proposals. You'll get this from reviewers for your journal articles. I think the first writing skills moment we had an editor of a journal, and we said, how can we write with bearing in mind the editor's thoughts. And she told us that, for example, their journal, they reject 94% of the submissions. So this is something that happens in academia. And if anybody tells you that you will get used to it and just see it and dust your frustration and move on, it's not true. You get frustrated all the time. I have been frustrated many times, and I can see my colleagues also get frustrated because you work very hard to have the manuscript ready, and but 96%, you know, like just 4% get in and they get away with it, but probably that 4% has been going through lots and lots of rejections as well. It's the same thing with sometimes our supervisors, PhD supervisors. If you find a very supportive, sometimes their decisions or their advice is for our good, but sometimes it can be very hard for us to be able to get back. And now, because you came in late, this talk was about how you can write coherently. And one thing that is quite important, I will mention it again, is the incubation moment. If you go back, and I didn't understand whether you were saying the manuscript or the thesis, if they would like you to change the thesis, or is it a paper you are submitting for publication?
Oh, Dr. Les, that is to me?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, it's a paper. I was submitting a paper, but it was my research for master's, and I've already submitted the dissertation. Everything is done. So I've written out of it. So it's just a paper now I've got other results from another lab, and then I have to go through analysis again. It's more like writing another dissertation.
Yes, a paper can also be like so what you probably want to do now, if you haven't, just put it aside, and your writing time, before you start writing again, have some solitude of sitting and asking yourself these questions, because we said when we're going to write coherently, we need to like pause and incubate our idea. So forget about what you wanted to write or what you've already written. Forget about what your supervisor has told you. Get a blank piece of paper and pen, sit somewhere and think carefully about your manuscript. Say, why do I want to submit a manuscript? Maybe it's because the university has this requirement. Before I graduate, I need to have a paper in. What else? I think this was really exciting, or as far as part of my PhD, part of my dissertation, my thesis, and I really want the readers out there, the people in this community, the people in this discipline to understand this, and I'm sure it's not yet covered properly. It's going to be novel. It's going to be something that people in this area are going to be interested in. And this is the key message that I want communicated. This is the issue that I really want communicated. It is important to me because of this and that. It is. It's going to, apart from me having a paper being published, this is the message that I really want to put forward. And the purpose of the communication is because it's not clear in literature, or these results were really like a surprise or whatever, put there that purpose why this should be written about, why it is worth your time to write about it. And then after that, say, okay, what's the best way to communicate it? And this best way, the structure will tell you whether actually all the other 29 or 39 ideas your supervisor is telling you to put in should be in or not. And try to put out this structure. Convince yourself this is the story, this is why it is important, this is why it should be, this is how it should be communicated. And then when you go write this down properly, and pray very hard that your supervisor will listen to you and ask for a meeting and say, okay, I've thought through this. These are my thoughts. These are my thoughts. And maybe after thinking through this, you'll find that what your supervisor is telling you to incorporate is quite important. Or where it's not important, you will need tact, you will need wisdom, you need care. Especially, I think the one thing that works very well with the supervisors is if you go with this idea, sir, I have come to check your mind on this, to check your guidance on this. I've been thinking and I've thought this is the thing we want to communicate in this paper. Keep saying we, not I, so that they can own the project, the write-up with you. This is what we would like to communicate. This is why it is important. And I think because this is what we want to communicate, this is how we should, the ingredients, this is how we should not add in tomatoes because it might be soggy. Let's just keep only onions. What do you think? I've come to pick your mind on this. And when they see that you're sort of like dependent on them and you put them in at a certain position, like you want to hear what they are saying, and indeed you're genuine about it, you want them involved so that you can be able to agree on this approach together, then probably that might work for you. I'm not saying it will work for you, but I don't know whether this is helpful. But for the encouragement, yeah, this really happens. And if you're feeling sad about it and discouraged about it, it's okay. All of us, it happens to all of us. It happens to everybody. And if you haven't found a group where you can share this, if you share, you'll hear like the same story. Pamela just told us that in May she had her thesis ready, but her supervisor died. She has a new supervisor who has pushed her steps backwards. So it's okay if you feel confused, feel disorganized, feel everything, but don't think that it is just you. It's what happens to many people, and we usually bounce back. It doesn't kill us. What doesn't kill us makes us. We survive it and move ahead. So well done sharing it. That's the first step. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Back to you, Pamela.
Thank you, Dr. Lois, and thank you, Afua, for asking that very pertinent question. It seems that there are a number of us that are having to deal with negative feedback, navigate it around, and so we hang in there, and that's why peer support is so important. I have a request of each one of us. Please type in the chat your name, what you're doing, maybe like where you're at. Maybe you are a master's student, PhD student, postgrad, you're a professor or something. And then maybe you're writing a paper for a journal, a grant, a proposal, or a thesis. And lastly, whether you're in a group or not, and where your group meets, so that we can get to know each other and link up. You never know. You could be there and you don't have a group, and here is someone you can link up with and you walk the journey together. But we welcome also more questions for those who have questions or comments. There are those who are very quiet. Thank you to Afua, who has already put her details in the chat. Dr. Lois, do you want to say something more as other members?
Okay, I just wanted to say something quick for the people who joined today. Pamela already mentioned that we have, what you need to do if you feel that you can't work alone and you need someone to share your writing targets a month. When you share these ones, like we are going to share at the end of this meeting, it helps you to, you somehow put them, paint them somewhere in your mental picture, or you can put them on top of your fridge, and they motivate you to know that this is, because if you don't put a target, the achieving something becomes difficult. So if you want to put writing targets for a month, and then have a buddy or two whom you share these targets with, and you can keep checking on each other. How are you moving? How are things going? If there's a complication somewhere in the middle, they can give you ideas. You share this, a burden shared is a burden lighter. And so it's up to you to choose your group members, to decide how often you meet. Like I've just mentioned, at Lincoln, we meet every other week on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Like today, after this, we are meeting at 2 p.m. UK time. And we meet and share we share anything that we are feeling at that time, and then start writing. We meet together and just write. Everyone writes on their own, but we are in the same place, and somehow we know that we are writing. 15 minutes to the end of our time, we come back together to say, some people say, today I want to write 500 words. And then when we meet, some say, oh, I only wrote 100. And maybe someone can say, oh, I actually wrote 700. We share this experience for this writing moment. But then at the end of the month, for everybody involved in this kind of peer support, we meet like we are meeting now. This is our all groups monthly meeting to share our monthly targets. And also at the end, we're going to be rather to reflect on our monthly targets past month. And at the end now, we're going to be sharing what we would like to achieve in November. So, but how does this group help? It helps you to create a focused time for writing. So if you keep saying, in October, I'm going to write my thesis and complete it, but then you need to decide when are you going to be writing? How much time do you want to write every day or every week? When is that? Is it at night? Is it in the morning? This is quite important. And when your group keeps you accountable to know how much time are you committing to writing in a week, and when are you writing? Do we have the same time? Can we come in the same place and work together? And also it makes it easier to keep out distractions, because like for me, during that time of writing, I switch off the internet. Before the time for writing, I prepare everything I need. I look for the articles that I need, everything. So I make sure, because my biggest problem was social media. I would be on Twitter, I would be on LinkedIn, WhatsApp, all these things, and they take quite a lot of time. So my writing time, it's my writing time, and if you are on social media, you wait for me after I finish writing is when I'll come back to you. But also the environment matters. So if you are able to, with your group members, say, okay, let's go to Makerere Main Library this afternoon, every Wednesday afternoon from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Let's meet at Makerere Library, and let each one of us get a desk and write every Wednesday together. And after that, maybe you walk out and have a cup of tea and talk. And this is going to push us forward quite a lot, because I know that working things out on your own becomes really, really difficult. So this is why we started this movement. Then you can be accountable to your group members so that they can motivate you, but also they can be your mentors. They will tell you the tips they are using to be better, what has worked well for them, some resource which you didn't know where it was. Your group members will share this with you and support you. You get this support from your group mates. It also boosts your confidence. So sometimes when you're working on your own and things are not moving, you know how the devil can tell you that it's because you're weak, it's because you don't know how to do things, it's because you are a failure, it's because blah, blah, blah. All these things that are not true about you And yet when you get into a group, then your confidence is boosted. Some of the things that you know, you might find your group members don't know them. And when you share them, you feel useful, you feel helpful, you really feel your confidence really boosted. And we cannot put value to friendship and networks. These they have the worth of friendship and networks. The value is really so high. And if we are going to really progress in our careers, we need networks, we need friendships. So this is why it is important. I don't know many of you, but I know that you are a human being like me, you are Ugandan, or you are from Zimbabwe, or wherever you are, and together we are working at progressing in our careers and changing our communities. So we have common things that unite us, and this is important for our career progression. So
thank you so much.
Maybe how to run, just a few tips on how to run. Decide your convenient venue for group meeting. Link up with people of the same venue. You can ask on the group who meets where is convenient for you. On the WhatsApp group, ask, and let your group decide when to meet, how often, and what to do during the meetings. And meet and share your status and your writing goals for the day, like we do at Lincoln. We share writing status for the writing meeting and agree how the day will run. Make sure that you write at least for an hour. But when you start writing and things flowing, you'll see that you take even more time. And also agree on other ways of supporting each other, including social activities for bonding. Bond with other people. Don't do the research journey on your own. And then all groups will come together every month to catch up and to have a writing skills acquisition moment. So thank you. Over to you, Pamela.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lois. Please leave that slide for all of us to again look at it, the one on how to run the initiative. Okay. Because as you had rightly said, this initiative started in June. Even some of us who started with it, we are still evolving. We are still learning how to run. I remember it was very hard to meet up and to tear away ourselves from the distractions, which are very many, and say that we have to link up with people, because sometimes you keep postponing that. So some of us may not even be able to meet physically every week, like my group does, but we can meet online. You can be part of a group even online. I learned that, rather than saying, I'm not able to link up with any other people, or location can be an issue. And then, of course, the accountability has been one area that I've benefited so much from in this social writing group. To be accountable is a motivation. But then I want to share a small other thing that has also helped us in our group, that we targeted that whenever we achieve a goal, one of the targets we made, we should actually reward ourselves so that we are motivated to move on and achieve more. So maybe, like Dr. Lois says, having a cup of tea together, sharing resources. Sometimes even you don't have that money to reward yourself, but it can be pulled together and you share a cup of tea, share something. So let's work on this social writing, peer support, so that we can be better researchers, we can be better members to contribute to our community initiatives. Is there still any comment, question? And if it is still there, I will say let it come as we share. We are now getting into that time where we are sharing our November goals or targets. let's share our November goals and targets.
Yep.
Yes,
okay, can I?
Afua, yes, please go ahead.
Yes, yeah, it's good afternoon already. And okay, so previously I shared my September target. I was meant to submit a manuscript proposal for funding, and then that manuscript, which I'd finished, both of them are done. But unfortunately, the manuscript will not be submitted. I'm going to write another one. But now I'm going to take some time to relax. And in the meantime, I'm going to take some time to relax with the manuscript as I wait for results, analyze results again. And the proposal was submitted. I got some first review comments that I'm addressing, and I hope to be done by end of close business tomorrow. I think it's my November target. That is
Thank
one.
you.
Yeah, and I believe within November they will send me other comments on the proposal, and that's actually I'll resubmit the final proposal end of November. And what else am I going to do? I'm hoping to write a PhD proposal. I'm planning to start to join PhD next year, God willing. So I'm planning to, in November or before, I hope, before 30th November, I hope to have at least a first draft of the PhD proposal. And out of it, I can get maybe a PhD concept in case of looking for funding or scholarship for a PhD. So at least I want the proposal by end of November. Yes, I know that at our university quite engaging and busy at the moment, November, but I'll try my best to do these two. Yeah, those are my targets for November.
Thank you, Afua.
Afua, it sounds like
All the best.
you're really, really enthusiastic and determined. But I think your priority would also be about relaxing and finding focus. If that could be like your main target, to find focus for your manuscripts. If you get that, you will run very fast on your writing. And also try, when we finish this meeting, try to evaluate your targets and bounce them off other people in the group. I can see that you're from Kabale Uni, and there are so many people from Kabale Uni on Sowrite. Try to see if you can get hold of them and bounce off these ideas that you want to achieve in November and see if they are feasible. Because if we usually, when we target too much, when it doesn't happen, it becomes a frustration. But when we target something that is small, probably achievable, something really realistic and achievable, it helps, it motivates us when we get results. So it's like giving a child too much food, they feel like they can't eat it. But if you give them in portions and portions, they finish, they get more, they get more. And it's the same with the academic writing. It's best to target something manageable, something that you can work without too much pressure. When you achieve, then it gives you morale to get more, rather than aiming for bigger things and then they don't happen and you get frustration. But this is something that you can discuss in a group and see what others think. For example, now you want to do the manuscript, you want to respond to the comments, you want to write a PhD concept. Discuss this with your colleagues and see what it really takes and whether it is feasible to target end of November to have done this, or if you may want to choose something more manageable and even relax in December. It's Christmas period, and yeah, catch up next year. Yeah, that's my comment.
All right, thank you so much. Maybe just to let you know, sorry, the comments for the proposal, not many, just a few minor issues, but because I need to submit it was like in the next few days. They're not really many. And the manuscript,
Okay.
I'm not writing the manuscript now. I'll be
Okay.
relaxing. So I'll focus on the concept for the PhD, which I had already started on some time back. So I'm just going to polish it.
Okay, good.
It's very lovely to listen to that enthusiasm. It's motivating for the rest of us who may be hesitating. Thank you so much, Afua. Anyone else who would like to share their November targets? Remember that we need to make them achievable. There might be something small. I don't have any hands up. Some of us have been very quiet. We can also type those targets in the chat. Sharing has helped me to listen to some of the things that I've said to myself in my head. And then when I speak them out, I am amazed at how I was very presumptuous. So really, in my situation, I've realized that I need to incubate my thesis, sit back part of November and look at it and see how my story stays, because my topic doesn't change. My objectives really were reorganized. So I am reorganizing my whole message again. And there was a new idea brought in, and I have been reading papers, and I think it's time to incubate, sit back and incubate them, think through, and have my thread coming back together again. At the same time, I have the data. Because of that, I have had to organize my data and to analyze it, the data that I already have, and yet I also have some new data that I need to collect. So those are things I am thinking through, working on. Some of the work is ongoing. I have members of the research team that are helping me with my plans. I'm thankful for that. But I also have another thing that I need to tackle, is to meet my supervisor in November, and we discuss. I give him feedback on this, and probably I had wanted to have a doctor committee meeting. So I have to incubate all those and bring coherency in what message I want to communicate. It's really dawned on me that where is the coherency? Thank you.
Members, what are you planning to achieve this November before we get into busy Christmas?
Well, if members are preferring not to say for various reasons at this time, I don't know, Dr. Lois, what else you have to share, but then we can go
maybe
into
I can share what we are planning to achieve this November. I mentioned that we are doing a literature review on HRM in Africa, and I've been given a role to gather all the articles that we are supposed to review. We are 3, and each one of us is going to be reviewing about 25 articles. So altogether about 75 to 100 articles, and they've asked me to do the search for the articles They've given me the parameters, the kind of articles that should be involved. So by November, I need to have gathered those. And that's what I want. I just want to do that because I have a lot of teaching going on and admin work. But we agreed that by end of November, we should be having these articles, and then each one of us can choose which one they would like to read, and we review them. But most likely that will be next year, because in December, people like to finish up a few things in the first 2 weeks of December, and then the last 2 weeks is holidays. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lois. Yeah, December we shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, same things with most of us who are doing teaching work as well, that we are juggling right now a lot of course assessments and running to finish teaching. I also forgot that I have a review paper to edit with my team, and I realized I don't even know the timeline for this review paper.
You need to set them, otherwise it goes on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah. So if there are no others, my suggestion was that then we go into our wrap-up time, and so that we can go into those who are going to write now, we go in to write. Those who are going to incubate or relax, they go back. Those who have other meetings, we may have to leave to join the other meetings or prepare for them. Yes.
Yeah. And our next meeting will be on the 28th, either 28th or 5th. We can agree on the WhatsApp page, or 29th, around either at the end of this month or the beginning of December. We can have a meeting to catch up and talk about how 2025 is going to look like.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also to evaluate, because I remember when it started in June, we had we set goals for what we would like to achieve.
Yes.
At the end of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I don't know whether that would be a nice one to evaluate. What did we want to achieve, and have we focused on it? Have we diverted? What happened?
Yes. Yes, so the last meeting will be about the entire year. While we've been looking at months, the last meeting will look at the past 6 months, and then we'll also look at what our focus is for 2025.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lois.
You're welcome. Thank you to Pamela for moderating this session.
You're welcome. So I don't see anyone having a hand up, so I would like to bring the meeting to a close and thank every participant for attending, giving their precious time for the meeting, sharing